There we go. There's me. Hi, everybody. Um, Let me know if you can hear me properly, if the volume levels are good between the music and my microphone level. They should be fine. But great. Thank you, Ryan. 5. So, as always, I will start out with some questions that I actually didn't get any questions asked by anybody this week or this stream. I've had some great ones so far. So I wrote some questions myself that I thought were might be some questions that people are curious about. And then if you guys have any questions you want to ask me in chat, feel free. There's no wrong question. It can get as personal as you want, as long as it's not like inappropriate or something. But again, please, if you want to know anything about my alcoholism, I'm happy to tell. So the first question I wrote is, what is your worst memory of drinking? I know everybody kind of has, I'm sure everybody who's ever drank or been on a drink too much has a worst memory of drinking. I have many. Thanks, Ryan Fry. Great question. Do you feel like it's hard to connect with other men when you aren't drinking? Yes and no. No, not anymore. Maybe yes initially. When I was like sort of right at the tail end of wanting to drink and wanting to be when I started wanting to be sober, but I still was sort of trapped. There's that fear, and I think it's not just for men, it's for everybody. There's that fear that you're going to not know how to be yourself without drinking, or you're not going to know how to function without drinking. Going out and not being able to have a drink when other people are drinking, like there's a big social awkwardness around that. And I'm telling you from seeing it from the other side, the only reason you feel that way when you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this without drinking. The only reason you feel that way is because you haven't seen it from the other side. Now that I'm seeing it from the sobriety side, there's no fear of me being able to connect with anyone or be social or anything at all. Of course, there's going to be some people that are like, oh, have a drink. And if you're not drinking, they get weirded out. But like, screw those people. You do you. And it is not weird if you're at a social situation or at a bar and not having a drink. Fortunately, when I started getting sober, my way to connect with other friends was through Dungeons and Dragons, and I started playing Dungeons and Dragons. For the first year, I really connected with my fitness coach and my personal trainer, Jack. So we connected through our love of fitness and him transforming, getting me into shape and getting me out of sobriety. He was sort of the bulwark against me going back into that, because it was so easy to focus on the good in my life when he was there, because I was working out. So no, I didn't. Once you get sober, it's not hard to connect, but there's that fear of being able to connect that you have when you're still drinking, that might be there. So yeah, does that answer your question, Ryan? I hope that was what you're looking for. Yeah, and it's the same for going on dates and stuff too. That was a very difficult part of getting sober, is trying to find, and admittedly that was tough, but I'm so glad I did, and the relationships you cultivate being sober is so much more strong than if you cultivate a relationship based on being drunk. I found, at least for me personally. So yeah, it's definitely a battle to find the right person that's okay with you not having drinks on a first date. But once you find them, lock them up. Other question, if anyone else has any more questions, or Ryan, if you have another one, feel free to ask. Ryan, that was actually the first question someone has asked me on stream, so I really, really, really appreciate that. What is your worst memory of drinking? I would say, probably, yeah, I think I've talked about them on stream before, but my worst memory of drinking was, one of them at least, is having to tell my mom that I wasn't coming home for Christmas because I lost my passport and my driver's license and my cell phone, and I had no way to get back to Calgary for Christmas, which is such an important part of our family. So that was a terrible memory for me. Spending Christmas Day standing in a payphone and drinking root beer schnapps and calling my family members and just being so sad. Very difficult. Breezy 420, skateboarding question, not a sobriety question. But I was terrible at skateboarding. I loved doing it, but yeah. So I'll move on from that. And we can talk about that when I'm doing my gaming sort of stream. But yeah, I'd like to keep it focused on sobriety for this at least. But thank you for asking a question. Thanks for interacting. Another worst memory of drinking for me was, again, I've touched on this before. It was one of the first times when I realized that I wanted to be sober. I was sitting in the parking lot of a bar, waiting for them to open in the morning. We had stayed up all night drinking, and we were sitting in the parking lot, like a bunch of, I just felt so gross. And I was like, this is not who I want to be. And that's when the sort of deep feeling of me wanting to change took hold. It took me a while to get past that point, but that was one of the first moments. So it was the worst, but that was the turning point. That was my rock bottom. Yeah, Sirach. Here's another one. If people were interested in quitting today, what would my advice be for them? So if you're interested in the best advice I can give, if you wanted to think about quitting alcohol or drugs or starting a path of sobriety, would be to look yourself in the mirror and say it to yourself, like admit that you have a problem and admit, I know that's part of like Alcoholics Anonymous and admitting that you have an issue. But truly, like, look yourself in the mirror and say it to yourself, and you'll find if you can't do that, then it will be very tough for you to recover, because that's a hard truth that you have to come to terms with. And it was a very difficult thing to do. And like, admitting that you have an issue like that or a problem is something real that it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of guts. And I know it's just a conversation between yourself and the guy or the girl you see in the mirror or the person you see in the mirror. So it's, if you wanted to start today or at any point, that would be my recommendation for you, is to admit to yourself in the mirror the problems that you may have. And that really opens up the door for a lot of healing. And even if it doesn't come right away, knowing that you've admitted that to yourself is huge. So Ryan, again, thanks for the question. I will start back onto my sobriety journey now. So we left off last time with I had just gone on my 2-week sober trip to Mexico. I had moved out of my old apartment that I lived in with my ex. My friend Simeon had moved all of my belongings into my new apartment in the West End. And I just arrived back from Mexico, 2 weeks sober. And that's sort of where, the story will begin tonight. The first thing I did, I started setting up my place, of course. And I went to, the day after I landed, I went to the gym. There was a Steve Nash down the street from me. And I signed up. I got a year's worth of gym time. Like, I got a year's gym membership. And I signed up for personal training. And it was something that I always wanted to be into fitness. And well, not always, but like once I started realizing how much how good it made you feel, it was kind of like drinking. Like, it's got that same addictive feeling, and I think it's serotonin or dopamine that it releases in your brain is very similar to the same sort of high you get from drinking, and drug use. So, but obviously in a much more positive light. So I went and I signed up, and they paired me up. They were talking to me, and I told them some of my interests, and they paired me up with a trainer named Jack Liu. Jack is still, I would consider him a close friend of mine. I don't work out at the same gym anymore, but he was so instrumental in the first while of my sobriety and making sure that I stayed sober. I don't think he knew it, but there's always so much opportunity to go back to drinking. Every opportunity. I was working at a nightclub 6 nights a week at that point. And every night was an opportunity for me to go back to drinking. Every night there was people trying to get me to do shots. And for the first 6 months of my sobriety, I was faking drinking with people. So if anybody watches this and you're on stream in 2017, if I was drinking with you anytime between, I think it was April and the end of the year, I'm sorry, but I was taking the shot that you gave me and spitting it into a cup of Coke. That was my sort of thing. I would, pour the real shots, because some people, if they find out that you're drinking fake shots, they get really upset. And obviously I wanted to ensure that people were still having a good time and I wasn't upsetting them by, lying to them or whatever. So I'm sorry if I lied to you. I was trying to better myself. But I would take the shot and then I would take what looked like a sip of Coke to chase the shot, but I would actually be spitting the shot into the chase, and then I would just throw the cup away really quickly. So that was how I got through the first 6 months of that. But every opportunity to like that, when the shot went in my mouth, I could have swallowed it. I could have stopped my sobriety instantly, and even having that little bit of alcohol in my tongue was so tempting. But I never gave in, and I always just did that. And every day I knew when I got up, I had to go to the gym, because Jack gave me workout plans. He gave me homework to learn how to do proper form. And I started getting into it hard. I fell in love with fitness. I still am in love with fitness. It's more of just part of my life now. It's less of I'm so driven to do it that it's just I work out. I work out as 5 times a week, 6 times a week. I try to. But then I was so every day I woke up and I could not wait to get into it. And so yeah, I started working out and it was going so well. Every day I woke up and I felt better. When I was drinking, I'm 6 feet tall, and I think I was about 150 or 160 pounds, which is quite light for someone who's 6 feet tall. So I was very skinny, but I was sort of skinny fat, that term. So definitely had a bit of a belly, but everything else on me was rail thin. And I didn't really realize that until I saw working out at the gym. You see other people who are your size and height, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I definitely got a bit of work on my body. So I started working out every day, and I did 2 sessions a week with Jack, and everything was going really well. No one knew about my sobriety journey at work. I didn't tell a lot of people because I didn't want it to affect anything. And I started to grow. And at 6 months, 6 months of that, I had my whole place set up. I was making great money. I was writing in a diary about things I was appreciative of. I had just really gotten into my hobbies and playing video games and saving money. It's insane how much you realize how much money you spend on drinking. Question for you guys, if anyone wants to share, what is the average, in the chat right now, what is the average amount of money you spend on a night out drinking with friends? I'll see if anyone wants to respond. I'll tell you guys what mine is anyways, but I just want to see if anyone wants to share. Yeah, thank you, Grimlock. I know, so about 200 some nights. And that's, for me, I would say between 200 and 300 bucks. So I usually drink beers, so maybe 50 bucks on the upper end. Yeah. So again, no matter what you're spending, and I know Grimlock is in the bartending industry as well, so 50 bucks for beers, that's depends, 100 to 200. So everyone between 50 and 200 is average, plus tips, plus all the food you buy, plus all the hangover food you buy the next day. It's an expensive habit. Plus cigarettes. I used to smoke a ton, only when I was drinking, because it was just a great combination together. I'm sure a lot of people smoke like that. And it's that money adds up. Can you if you drank 3 or 4 nights a week, could you imagine banking, not even saving, you're just not spending $400 a month every month? And working in a nightclub, Republic was doing really well at the time, and I was taking home anywhere between $300 and $600 a night for 6 nights a week, and I just started gaining all of this cash, and it was amazing that I could pay off my bills. I could buy fitness stuff. I could buy protein powder and creatine and stuff like that. Hey Travi Westside. Let's see what else to say. Hey Tommy, just popping in before heading to work. I just wanted to say, when I started my journey of sobriety, you were very influential in the beginning stages of myself getting off the booze. It's been over 3 years now and there's no looking back. I also swapped drinking for exercise and loving it. Travi Westside, thank you so much, man. The fact that I had any wow, sort of a little lost for words. The fact that I had any help on your journey is means the world to me, so thank you so much. And I'm so happy that other people found fitness as well. It's such a great way to replace your drinking habits with fitness habits, and I'm glad you found that path too, and I'm glad it's 3 years for you. Brilliant. I hope you have a great night at work too, Travi. So thank you so much. Yeah, truly touching, man. Thank you. So back to my point, I was just being able to pay off your credit cards and have financial freedom and not worry about having to pay rent. It's such a weird concept that a bartender who could make hundreds of dollars a night doesn't have any money. But it was, after a shift when I was drinking, I could potentially spend all of my tips within the next 24 hours from that night, and that cycle continued. So seeing how I was getting healthier, I was eating healthier, I was saving more money. I had better relationships with my parents. I've always had a great relationship with my family, but it wasn't until I got sober and clear-headed that I started having a really close relationship with my mom. She's always had my back. She's the type of parent that has always been there to support me. No matter what, she lets me make my own mistakes and always welcomes me back after I've made them. And I can tell her what I've learned. So she's always been that, and I think that's such a great way to parent, is let people make their own mistakes, as long as they're not in danger, and let them come back and tell you what you've learned and be supportive and say, well, good, I'm glad you learned that lesson, because that's the way to do it. But I developed a really close relationship with my mom, and since about 2 or 3, maybe almost 4 years ago, we FaceTime every day. We FaceTime or call every day, sometimes twice a day, and just to connect and talk about our family and all the stuff that's going on. And it's everyone has different relationships with their family, but that is something that I will never take for granted, being so close to my mom and my stepdad and my dad and my brother. And it's so great developing a close relationship with your family if you can. I know everyone's family relationship is different, but that's another thing that started to grow and develop. In the first 6 months, working out was going amazing. I started making more friends at the gym, becoming friends with the trainers, and actually it came up that every year at Steve Nash they have a success story. So it's a sort of a contest or a competition that you can apply for. And I was encouraged to apply for this year's success story by Jack and the fitness manager, Katie, at the time. And they said, yeah, you have a great story, you have a great attitude, you're doing so great in your transformation. And that's what they like to see, not just the physical transformation, which is there, but the mental transformation. And I applied. At the 6-month mark, I actually wrote a big Facebook post of a before and after of me. I'll see if I can find the picture just so I can share with you guys what my transformation looked like a little bit. So 1 sec. Yeah. So this is I wrote a big post, and this is the photo. This is the before and after of me. There we go. That's good focus. But that was before and after 6 months of drinking. I am not nearly as orange as I am on the camera. I think that's just the settings. But check out my Instagram if you want to see the whole post. And so I wrote this post, and I described literally my journey from going from being drunk and having a problem and just having no hope for myself to changing my body and changing my mentality and changing my mental health and being so happy with the guy I am. And I think next talk I have tomorrow, I'll probably start off by reading that post because I think it just really encapsulates my whole journey and something I really want to share with you guys. So they encouraged me to apply for this success story, and I did. And I got into the semifinals. I basically took that post that I wrote and used the same text to enter this contest. I got to the semifinals, and then I got to the finalists. And once you become a finalist in this contest, you have to go and do a video interview of your successes, and they ask you all these questions about why did you want to get sober, who is your trainer, and they give you all of these workout products. So I got all these cool like shorts and shoes and workout tank tops for free, and I had to do an interview with Jack. Me and Jack are definitely very nerdy individuals, and we both were definitely kind of awkward on camera, but I would say adorably so. Oh, sorry, I'm a little unfocused. Let's see if I can get us to focus again. Sorry, I'm just seeing if the camera can focus. Meh. Oh well, that's okay. It'll focus if it wants to focus. So we did the interview. We had to do this awkward photo shoot where it's like Jack is pretending to coach me on doing push-ups, and then he got on my shoulders and we smiled and did all this. It was super funny. And so I had to do that as a finalist. And then at the for the finalist, for the winner announcements, we had to go to this big amphitheater. I think it was on South Granville, and all of the personal trainers from Steve Natcher there, the entire company, the CEO, the vice president, everybody was there, as well as all the finalists' family and loved ones and stuff. So I went by myself with my trainer, and I'm going to end it there tonight. I won. Yeah, and that I wanted to describe that feeling more in full, but that was a huge moment for me. And I want to start tomorrow's session with that feeling of winning that, and then another story of one of my biggest successes in sobriety in the first 6 months. And that was, I know a couple streams ago I mentioned when I decided to stop drinking, it was I said no to going to my friend Steve's bachelor party. So his wedding was one of the winning this success story thing, and going to Steve's wedding was one of the biggest successes that I had in my first 6 months of drinking. And yeah, I think I'll end it there for tonight, and I'll start it there tomorrow. Brass Thulu, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. Does anyone have any? I'm just about to finish my stream up, but does anyone have any more questions for me about? Yeah, it's okay, man. Hey, I'll be back tomorrow. Does anyone have any questions for me about drinking, or anything they want me to address about my story, or anything like that, before I take off? If not, that's totally okay. Ryan, I really appreciate you asking a question on stream today. Yeah, and great. Yeah, there's more to come. And then once it ends, I have some more. I'm going to be bringing on people. Oh, you stopped working the bar, right? So thank you for asking, Brass Thulu. That's a great question. I actually, and thank you, Sirach. I really appreciate it. Great question, Brass Thulu. I stopped working the bar a lot longer after I had quit drinking already. So I was working at the nightclub still for probably about a year and a half, or maybe almost 2 years after I quit drinking. So it was a long time I worked at Republic at a nightclub while still being sober. And the challenges of that I can dive into a lot longer, but it got to the point. It got to the point where people would offer me shots, and after the first 6 months, I made that Facebook and Instagram post and told everybody I was sober. So a lot of people at Republic stopped offering me drinks and were very supportive of me, all my friends and close ones. But there was a lot of regulars that thought it was, Yeah, there's a lot of people who took it on a challenge upon themselves to try and make me drink, and eventually it just I had to tell them very directly, I am not drinking anymore. It is offensive that you are trying to get me to break this, so please stop. And some people didn't take that very well, and they stopped coming to my bar, or they went to the bar upstairs at Republic, and whatever. Those are those people. Those aren't friends that I wanted, anyways. And as you get sober, you really find out who a lot of your friends are, and who your close friends are, and who are your supporters, and who just wants a drinking buddy, or just uses you for getting drunk. Yeah, Brass Thulu, everyone was a mess back then, so that's okay. And I think, I know I got out of the nightclub industry and the bartending industry. I think I could have stayed in the bartending industry if I had just switched my environment. So if I went to catering, like you said, or if I went to fine dining, or I went to a different place, but nightclubs were just internally so frustrating. And leaving Republic was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because I thought my career was in nightclubs and hospitality and bartending and the food and beverage. It's still in hospitality though, and I'm in a much better spot. So yeah, I agree. Swanky places are more chill. Any more questions from anybody? Cool. If not, yeah, thank you guys for the interactions tonight. That's the first time we've ever had people interacting with me in the sobriety talks on stream, just asking questions. And so that means a lot to me. That means we're getting somewhere, and we're developing a space where we can talk about this stuff. And that was really my goal at the start of this, is just telling people my story, but encouraging people to tell me their stories as well, and ask questions if you're curious. It doesn't, if you don't want to stop drinking and you still have a question, that's okay too. I'm not forcing my life choices on anyone else. I'm just describing what I have. And if you're interested in that, don't think that you have to don't think that you have to want to stop drinking just to ask a question. So thank you guys. Be happy. I'll be streaming tomorrow, same time, 6 p.m. to around 9 p.m. And yeah, another half-hour sobriety talk. So thanks everybody. Yeah, be happy, and have a really good night. Thank you.